Davidos when we see the hands.
That's right. Game number 1 kicking off. And when I say underdogs, I don't mean players who you expect to lose in these scenarios.
Right.
They're players who are less in the public eye
Yes.
when it comes to Hearthstone. We're used to seeing players who have a consistent performance be on that stage time and again. But as time goes on, that edge is going to grow closer. There's going to be new players who emerge, and this is a busy time of the tournament year, so not every single name in the world can make it out to this tournament. And as Sato was saying throughout this tournament so far, this is a great time to come out here and prove that you can stand at the top of these brackets.
Yeah, there's some of these guys just never quite got their chance. Davidos is a player, I think he's 9-9 or something in DreamHacks, but he's one of the players that everybody who casts this sort of event has heard of. He's somebody that we all know, we know of, and hasn't really managed to get to a big final that I know of at least, or a big semi-final where he can go, hey, look at me, I've beaten these players all in a row. This might be his big day, and it doesn't mean he's not as good as the others. It means that maybe he hasn't had the breaks at 6-3 in tiebreakers or something.
That's right. I mean, that is a part of card tournaments is you will have to persevere through the downtimes if you want to be successful. This isn't this type of event where you show up, expect to do well every single time, and crush everybody. It's any given Sunday. That's part of the beauty of Hearthstone, and one of the reasons why I think we talk so much about mental fortitude is being able to not give up when things don't go your way is such an important thing. You know, I look back to spring with RDU, and after his heartbreaking loss to Kalento,
again,
he was talking about quitting the game.
Yep.
I was like, RDU, you can't quit the game, dude. You're one of the best in the world. If that's what it takes to beat you, it is a matter of time till you start picking up these big titles again.
Yeah, he suffered the same thing against Pavel last time. He's lost to Pavel and Kalento in massive matches. That's not a bad. It's a bad thing, but that's not.
It's not a
career
bad
end.
thing.
Like you're losing to the 2 best players in the world almost.
And that perseverance is one of the reasons that if you pay close attention to the scene, you see RDU time and again. He perseveres through the downtimes.
Yeah, and we're seeing some of these players here doing the same thing. We should probably look at this game of Hearthstone, actually.
Well, it's about what you're seeing right now. Davidos, he's playing Zoo Warlock. His main goal is to beat up AKAWonder before he's able to hit his big power stride. These early minions in the 1-3s and the 2-1s, they're great to have, but this is the reason that Zoo has, in most aggro decks, have transitioned to these very powerful endgame cards, is because it's important for them to be able to protect these small minions and take advantage of the fact that they stick to the board.
Excuse me, sir, do you have a spreading plague?
It doesn't have a spreading plague, but he does have a Malfurion, and he does have an Aya on board as well.
Yeah, so he went with going very, very wide there. Just ask you that question. If you've got it, sure, I'm probably going to lose. But if you've got it, you know what? I'm probably going to lose anyway. So let's play as if you play against the cards I can actually beat, go really wide there.
Yeah, it's an important measure to be doing, to be understanding what you can and cannot win against, and maximizing against what you can, and minimizing against what you can't. In this situation, there was no way to minimize against Spreading Plague without giving up too much room, I think.
I think it's one of the concepts that improving players struggle with the most is working out, well, but if he's got Spreading Plague, I lose, and then having to take that next step as, well, you lose anyway. That card's going to beat you anyway. Just forget it exists. You're changing the game by 0% worrying about it.
Yeah. So you can start to see that creep its way into this territory as AKAWonder he's under a bit of pressure, but I think he's got a lot of time now that he's landed Malfurion. I mean, 3 damage killing minions off the attack is nothing to scoff at. He's got some Jade stuff in hand. He's got some more card draw available. And this is the situation where Davidos needs to start drawing that top-end power.
Yeah, and you can see if he had played around Spreading Plague, how much even worse it would be. At least this way he might be able to get some damage in if he does draw a Doom Guard or something. But if he hadn't gone wide here and he just played around a card that wasn't even in the hand, he would have lost already. And he's already in a bit of trouble, obviously. AKAWonder playing for the board. That's also important in this matchup. Killing minions seems good, but putting your own 2 minions down is actually just better in the long run.
7 power and 10 health.
Ouch. And 6 of that health directly has to be hacked through by these minions.
It's so crazy how important the Jade ramp is in so many matchups, and the combination of them two is just so powerful.
Yeah.
When you're able to land both, you're typically at an enormous advantage. Landing one or the other can oftentimes put you ahead. It's the 2 of them synced up that really is a major problem for most
And the
decks.
problem is that when you land one, it buys you the time to land the other usually. You can usually use the ramp to do something like an Ultimate Infestation to get some Jades, or you can use the 5/5 Jades to buy yourself time and you hit a Nourish or something. So as long as you get one or the other, and your deck's full of one or the other, you're going to get one or the other. That's why the deck is so powerful.
The major pressure point is being able to kill this deck before it hits those power strides.
And it's so difficult done.
Man, look at that draw from AKAWonder.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
And this is just going to be ridiculous. You don't get the crazy Fandral turns quite as often as you used to. But this is one of them.
look at AKAWonder perk up a little bit. He goes, oh, hang on a second.
AKAWonder perking up. I mean, he's always pretty perky, so if he's perking up, you know it's going well.
That's the thing is when he's in game, he's got this laser focus where he very rarely shows emotion in a situation. You know, talking back to Raven mentioning the blunder we saw on stream from here earlier, he peeks at the camera and he's like, oh.
That's something about Wonder's play. He has been a tendency to make small mistakes like that. Well, big mistakes, but not really big mistakes, like unfocused mistakes under pressure. And he just shrugs them off time and time again. So that way he doesn't ever ruin his future play. And that's why he's got a 37-17 record in DreamHacks.
That's outright impressive.
It's ridiculous. Right? I haven't got the calculator in front of me. It's around 70%-ish, which is stupid.
It's a lot.
It's also a lot of DreamHacks he must have played to rack up 37 wins.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get those in 9 rounds of Swiss quickly.
That's the other thing, too, is you get a record like that, you got to play a lot. If you're going to win tournaments, it takes playing a lot. If you're going to rack up these big records, it takes playing a lot. No matter how you slice it, you got to get out there and compete.
Yeah. People are doing that more and more. We're up to 242 players this time around.
That's right.
Another record for this event.
People ask me all the time, how do I get into competitive Hearthstone?
Go play some competitive Hearthstone.
Got to make sacrifice somewhere.
Yeah.
Is it really a sacrifice?
It depends.
You get to play a tournament. I mean,
you've got to do what. If you want to be the best, you've got to think, well, how's the best got there? And the best got there by doing a lot of Hearthstoning.
Yeah.
You want to beat them, you've got to put in that effort as well.
And AKAWonder's getting there by doing a lot of jading right now.
He really is.
He's running away with this game.
The other option, of course, is just to come to DreamHack because the experience is incredible. You get a free tournament entry somewhere along the line, play the Hearthstone. If you go 0-3, just drop out and enjoy the show. If you don't go 0-3, enjoy the money. If you do, enjoy the show.
So if you're one of us, enjoy the show.
Yeah. Very much so. Well, Davidos is plugging away here, just hoping some random card that he's not expecting springs out of his deck.
Yeah, this was a race to the to hit the stride, and AKAWonder hit this a lot sooner than Davidos did. He found ramp, he found Jades, he found card draw, and a little bit of disruption to throw in there, plus the power turn with Malfurion. So the combination of all those things has led to this blowout-looking board state where I think Davidos is just, he's looking at game 2 already.
Yeah, and it's even more blowout from where we're sat because we can see that no-ish. As soon as Davidos sees that no-ish, it will just be, no, let's get on with the next one.
He's got some fight left in him, but you know, not being able to life tap here.
Yeah.
He's got a flame elemental left in hand. He would need successive massive draws with AKAWonder having successive dead draws, and that's just slim to none at this point.
Yeah, this is something that Warlock getting outpowered by Druid in card draw is kind of weird. You think, hey, the Warlock can start tapping and getting stuff, but the Druid's just got such powerful card draw. No, I don't need to tap. I just draw 5 cards, gain 5 armor.
And you don't need to tap, or you don't need to draw if you just draw on your big stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. And there we go. There's the board clear, the thing that we always say about Zoo. Just kill all their stuff and they have absolutely no power over you, and that will be the end of game 1, almost certainly.
No, that's certainly. And leader in the middle.
Yeah, sure. So, game 2. Going to get to see him talk about that now, because you're talking about the 3-2 lineup.
Yeah, Davidos does have some good fight back here, though. With the Priest and Mage, it's looking like that this is the style of situation that he is prepared to handle. Doesn't want to handle it, but these are the times where he can bring it back.
Right.
His Mage and his Priest are prepared, and he sees those strategies come to fruition. He can still take 2 games with one of those decks very easily.
And if you're going to bring this lineup, you've got to be able to beat Druid. His lineup will be there to beat the Druid, because otherwise you kind of need a rogue to help you out. He hasn't got one of those.
He does not. Not this series.
And Wonder taking it super seriously here. He realizes that's the situation here. You don't get to 5-2 with a lineup without rogue by accident. He's got to put some thought in. He may not know the lineup and work out exactly what to expect.
That's a big point to make. You know, AKAWonder was streamed earlier on in this tournament, so if players have scouted well, they have more information than if they hadn't been streamed and talk of their decks has not been going around. That's a big part of the tournaments as well, is making sure that you're talking to as many people as possible and trying to find the right information.
And like I say, Davidos is well known, but he's a little bit lower key than some of the other players.
That.
Wow.
I think Big Priest does a pretty darn good job versus Druid.
Yeah, very much so. We've seen a fair number of players play. In fact, some people actually try to sort of go next level and bring a lot of aggro stuff to get around these decks, but there's just not enough people brought Big Priest for that to really work.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, is Big Priest is still a very beatable deck. I mean, it has those godlike draws that you know, every good deck in the format has. Every deck has a draw that where you go, can you beat this? And if your opponent doesn't match it, the answer is no. It's part of what makes them good decks. But piloting them well in the right circumstances also matters. What happens when you get the average hands, or the slightly below average hands? Being able to win in those circumstances because of your familiarity with the matchup, that's what truly makes players stand out from the others.
Yeah, people who look up charts full of percentages and stuff saying, oh, Priest wins this 47% of the time. If you're really good at the Priest, it probably wins it 53% of the time. You've got to do the charts for your own playing abilities, not for the average playing ability. You'll be good at some stuff, you'll be bad at some stuff.
Those charts are a great guideline, but you got to apply that knowledge as well.
Yeah, they're a starting point. If something's 25%, you can probably write it off. You're not going to overcome those sort of odds.
Notice that Davidos is hanging on to this Shadow Visions early on as well. I think this is an interesting play. I don't think that he needs to rip it on turn 2 because he's not going to be doing anything on turn 3 very often. But on turn 4 when he, on turn 3 when he draws the Shadow Essence, now he's free to start to feel through exactly what AKAWonder's game plan is. What kind of card does he need to get from Shadow Visions in order to maximize his potential this game? And so him being very patient with this, I think, is a really key thing to look at.
Discussion with somebody yesterday about sort of holding onto Shadow Visions versus playing it. You can be very mana efficient with it, but I feel that you gain more information. You also thin down the discover pool.
That's right.
So you draw more spells, so you get, you either draw the one you want, in which case you can discover something else, or you thin out the pool by drawing more spells.
Look at that. Shadow Word Harbor gets picked up, and he's got Pint Size ready to go. So multiple board clears and successive turns available for Davidos. And that means AKAWonder, his game plan is looking to move into a card draw perspective where he can start to power out multiple things in a turn and try to overcome these swing turns that are approaching for Davidos. Krona is a big factor to that.
Yeah, and now AKAWonder's going to have this double-edged attack. We talked about this yesterday. You can try and kill the Priest, which is where he's going with it. And then if that fails, if your Jades are big enough, you can actually just try and fatigue the Priest by trading your Jade with their big minions over and over again.
Yeah, the catalyst to that game plan, though, believe it or not, is the aggression.
Yeah, which is weird, right?
You have to force Davidos to use his important tools, so at some point you can transition to the defense. You need to keep him from dealing you damage and force his minions to be playing for board, so that way you can land that Malfurion at some point and start stacking on that armor to live through these endgame pushes he's going to have.
Yeah, then you build up the Jades, they get bigger, and suddenly your minions are just going to trade 1-for-1. And if you're trading your 1-for-1 with your Jades, when you have 10 Jades in your deck, plus a Kun, plus a Malfurion, and they have 6 or 7 big minions, guess what? The guy with the 6 or 7 minions doesn't win the game.
Plus the idols, plus the Malfurion, plus the swipes.
Yeah, it gets big quick.
Maybe there's a Medivh somewhere in there.
Yeah, Medivh would just be a ridiculous amount of value, and that can happen, and it's in a lot of these decks.
And so hitting Yashiraj, I think, it can be a very important tool for Davidos.
It can, yeah, especially if he's going to get back several times.
He can pull this game very far ahead with the right sequence of draws, but the thing I'm looking at is the amount of board clear he's got.
Okay.
Can AKAWonder push through that profitably?
Well, I think that first phase might be coming to an end. The hitting you with my small guys phase of the game, he doesn't seem to be able to force that much through. He's having to spend a lot of mana here to get through this.
Oh.
A lot of resources, and it has to kill it. You can't leave it up.
Well, he throws the 1/1 into the pool, was the interesting thing to me. So,
okay.
Because it looked like he had made the attack before the effect on the Obsidian statue went off.
Right.
Because he could have just run in the Mire Keeper, and he would have been able to keep the 1/1 in this instance.
I'd missed that, yeah.
Greater Healing Potion to stabilize.
And suddenly you're back to the start of the game with one player getting close to their big stuff and the other player getting close to their big stuff. So suddenly we're going to start swinging haymakers at each other rather than just tickling each other.
Yeah, and notice that Davidos has been hanging on to this Potion of Madness as well. Malfurion making the poison spiders off the effect is a very big deal against Big Priest.
Okay.
So holding that card until you either desperately need to use it or to find the moment where you can nail those poisonous spiders is a very big deal.
That's a really good point. You also don't get to dilute your pool of discovers.
And that's why AKAWonder's choosing to go with the taunts here, I think.
Yeah.
Is because he knows that he's just sacrificing so much to Potion of Madness that he doesn't want to do that. He would rather absorb life total.
That's incredible from both players there to see it coming. That's people who know the matchup. It's people who've played lots of games and suddenly realize, oh, this thing's bad. It begins. The part where you start actually casting your minions with the mana cost is the part where this game gets interesting. The rest of it's just like, can I get lucky?
Yeah, and AKAWonder can handle this, but what's the cost of handling it right now?
I think he's good for a little while, actually. Like, Prix isn't killing you anytime soon. He's got a lot of his key cards developed himself. He could do with that UI some point, but not in a desperate hurry. Is he even going to bother handling it, though? I mean, what are the silence targets here?
Well, the other thing to me I'm looking at is what happens if he uses all of his removal spells and then he can't shore up one big minion.
Yeah,
Now this is
got to get it to stick, otherwise you need that backup plan.
both swipes and a wrath have been used at this point, and those spiders did not absorb damage.
They just bounced.
Scarabs, rather. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
They're spiders. We know they're scarabs, but you know. They're beetles, as I've heard them called recently.
They're beetles. Scarabs
Yeah.
are beetles.
Just going one step out. Okay. Davidos, got to keep the pressure
Wow.
coming or he is going to be under trouble himself.
Oh
He's
my
back.
gosh, what a discovery.
There
For
must always
Davidos.
be a Lich King at the ball.
And Doompact is not necessarily a good pickup for Davidos. Again, if he finds the critical turn to get a board swing with that, great. But that doesn't always happen. The clock in terms of killing the opponent is much more on Davidos than it is on AKAWonder.
Yes. Yeah, he's happy to try and use the attacks as pressure to make Davidos slow down, but he's not actually trying to kill him that way, unless opportunity presents. Obviously, then you don't just blank the chance to win the game. But
Yeah. And that's the second Wrath as well.
So that's all 4 of the utility spells gone.
And that's the situation I was looking at with using the Free from Amber versus using the Anduin perhaps in this situation. I think Anduin would have come down early enough that it could have a high board impact. But in this spot, he lost his Free from Amber. He took 7 damage in the process, and he's still lined up to needing to play Anduin this turn. So could this have been Anduin on the previous turn and then roll into the Free from Amber instead?
And on the other side, maybe he just figured, you know, let's get this board wiped out. Maybe it's 12-12 and off he goes. But yeah, now this Anduin is going to get work done in the short term, but we know that normal Highlander Priest is weak against Druid because Anduin can't keep up with these big golems, so he's going to need more stuff.
This is a key turn, though, and these are the kinds of turns that Davidos is looking for. AKAWonder stumbles. He does not develop a ton, and he didn't draw any cards.
Yeah.
This is now when Davidos can start to move to try to take over this game. The problem is he's missing a threat potential here.
He is, and Davidos might read into that and just... When's your Dragonfire Potion much better? Your Jades are at 4, so obviously it's better when they're at 5, but we're getting to the point where Dragonfire Potion starts to become kind of useless in a couple of turns' time.
It's just very expensive, so I quite like using it here and start to push some damage with the Anduin. You know, it's not an impossibility to think that Anduin is the difference in winning and losing this game because of the damage facet.
That
Important draw.
keeps that pressure you were talking about that he didn't have a last turn. He's got it now.
But look, there's silence waiting in Davidos' hand as well.
Silence, but he still needs to actually kill it off, so it's more damage that won't go face. He hasn't played Raza because that wouldn't work in this particular deck.
Barnes joins the party.
Barnes on time, though.
Now, the minions are left. Ysera, Yashiraj,
Yeah? They're both good minions.
another Obsidian statue.
Seems good. Okay. Silence Eye, Obsidian it. Yeah, that seems decent. And, I mean, do you play the Barnes now just because it's just going to be useless later?
Well, that's the question he's
Or
looking
do you actually, yeah...
I like the silence, of course.
I like the way...
Whoa, that's quite a risk to take, but I like it. He's got plenty of cards left in deck, but Eternal Servitude's a big one to burn.
It is.
Oh my.
Okay, here comes a push.
Oh my. So 412 is going to get silenced here, but again, the big one is AKAWonder is out of development. He needs card draw, and he has to answer the Yashiraj, and he has to answer the Ysera effect, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not going
Will he
to.
leave the Yashiraj up so that he can MC Tech next turn?
That's possible, but
Then
I mean, how often is Davidos getting 2 more minions on board next turn? That's just not going to happen.
Sure.
Unless you just leave the Yashiraj alone.
Can you do nothing here?
If you
Just straight up past the turn?
But if you do nothing, how does Davidos read into that? There is a major
then
risk
he shoots his
involved.
own Yashiraj and you've had an accident.
It's kind of like a win, but you also take 7 damage in that process.
And that is relevant because one thing the Prix deck is surprisingly slow at is killing you with minions.
Yes.
They've all got like 4. They're all great minions. They're all fantastic, but most of them got like 4 attack.
Wow. And AKAWonder is going to make the push. But Davidos has punished this with that greater healing potion.
Yeah.
Draws the Yashiraj as well. And so AKAWonder very much is looking at mind control tech on this coming turn, but...
And we talk about that so much because I don't think it will happen. I don't think Davidos will play into it, but it's kind of AKAWonder's only way out at the moment, unless he can get some big Jades, but the Jades have vanished to the bottom of his deck. If he can start pulling some of those turn after turn, maybe he can still trade into everything.
That's the thing I'm wondering. Did that window of opportunity close to keep the threat chain going?
Right.
It looks grim for Davidos for a very long time in this series, but at some point, if AKAWonder stumbles, that's basically it.
Yeah, the silence on the Aya was absolutely gigantic. That was where AKAWonder was still having a bit of board presence and a chance to make yet another Jade. He was going to get to that magical 6 where suddenly all the Dragonfires just stop working and go home. They go on strike.
Wow.
Eats the Yashiraj up. Okay, so Aka's going to have a chance to steal a thing.
This is a major turn for AKAWonder. The risk is going to pay off. And here's the thing. Davidos drawing that Yashiraj actually might have been a benefit to him.
Yes.
Because it means that there's no 10-10 available to steal with the mind control tech.
Yeah, that's a good point. This makes the silence a lot easier unless he steals Barnes as well. He'll have some more information of which one of these minions to stick the silence onto. See how this works out.
Ysera gets
That's the
taken.
jackpot, I think.
But Davidos has been holding on to pint-sized Shadow Word Harbor the entire game.
Right, he's going to iron this out pretty quickly, but the damage that's been done to his side of the board, we've said it's about running him out of resources. Well, now he's got 2 problems. He's down to a low health, and that's 4 mana he's going to have to spend addressing that issue. And he's running low on stuff. But Wonder is also
Ysera awakens, picks up. So if Davidos doesn't use his greater healing potion here, he's dead.
Oh my goodness.
He's got to use that.
And that's just taking up valuable time to give Wonder another chance to get some Jades rolling with his Wild Growth and his draw. If you get 2 Jade Spirits, or equivalent of, that's not the card he was looking for.
That's one of the worst draws left in the deck right now.
They should buff that card. Jade Idol, but no card draw to go with it. So do you have to find a way to FanDuel this to do both things at once?
That's the thing. So AKAWonder's been desperately searching for card draw the entire time.
Right.
If he shuffles this Jade Idol before he finds an Ultimate Infestation, that is 3 more cards in his deck that are not Ultimate Infestation.
And now he's getting a little bit low on health himself, so he's having to tiptoe around this Anduin. Obviously, there's no Razor. Just a reminder, it isn't a Highlander deck, but he's still capable of doing 4, 6 a turn and chipping you down. So, very difficult turn for Wonder here.
I don't know what to do. I really don't. He needs something rolling, but he's got to check the pressure. He's got to start delivering damage.
And he's got to start delivering Jades.
And I quite like the Spreading Plague here because it means that he's going to keep pushing 3 a turn. So
Sure.
the window is closing, but him playing the defense plan is off the table right now.
This is a really interesting game. It's quite a technical matchup because both players have such unique win conditions. I mean, Jade's not unique to anybody who's played Hearthstone recently, but it's still a weird way to win games.
Big Priest forces you to play differently.
Yeah.
And now look, the 7-6 is just a big problem for AKAWonder.
It's a dragon.
Davidos is beating down the door, and I think the window has closed for AKAWonder. We'll see, because this next draw matters a ton.
Is it enough?
That's not enough.
So now everything hurts.
Death and Decay available in Davidos' hand as well.
There's no way of clearing everything, I don't think, and gaining enough health. Because Awakens hits you in the face. Ysera comes at a price. Davidos hasn't blinked this game, by the way. He just hasn't flinched or blinked or anything the entire game.
No, he just blinked.
Yeah, he heard me. He didn't, because there's white noise being pumped into his ears.
I think that was the moment where he realized, hey, I do win.
I can blink.
I do have this. Okay.
Yeah.
It was looking scary for a while here. And mind you, Davidos' hand was not insane in this game as Davidos returns and ties it up 1-1. His first real play came with Shadow Essence.
Yeah, and he just didn't really do much. He just fended off the attacks, made sure he kept his resources, and keeping various bits and pieces back for a very long time was the key to his game there.
As Druid has lost the ability to power out these major threats, it's had to dedicate just a little bit more resource into fighting aggressive matchups.
Right.
The combination of that with the explosive power loss gives time to decks like Big Priest to find that turning point.
And just a reminder, Big Priest is played for that reason. Also a reminder that the home nation, with the exception of Canada being won by Muzzy, they'll probably buy Muzzy for a bit, has won every single DreamHack this year. And Davidos has got the Swedish flag. This is where we are playing.
Home turf.
Home turf. Explains the cheers you hear every time he does something good in the game. You hear them in the background. There's a lot of people out there now gathered to watch this today.
Yeah, this was a move in location from where the
Yes.
old DreamHack events were held in this venue.
Yeah, they used to tuck us away with like all the weirdos. Like we don't want you in our dream. We will put you upstairs, but now they've put us in a main area, and it's fantastic. There's so many people just walking about, looking in, stopping, maybe taking a game or two of Hearthstone.
To stark contrast, I feel like they have put the weirdos in the middle of everybody else with me and you.
Well, we have to lead from the front. Admirable.
It takes one to know one.
Exactly.
AKAWonder queuing up what looks like a Burn Mage style here, and Skulking Geist is in his Mage deck. That is quite an interesting inclusion.
Yeah, that's come in a little bit more in tournament play over the last month or so, I would say, which is just because it can back up against Druid and Priest to some extent, and because you're so bad in the Priest matchup and the Druid matchup, you kind of have to have it in there as a backup, I think.
Well, how good is the Big Priest matchup for him, though? Because I don't think Skulking Geist is a card that's in here for this matchup.
Yeah, remove your,
Nothing.
Your Potion of Madness.
Right. That's
game.
It's more of a benefit to Davidos.
Yeah, exactly. Just get rid of the card he doesn't want. I feel like this isn't a great matchup for the Mage, but I don't feel like there is a great matchup. You know, the big decks, when they come up against the stuff they're looking for, are terrors.
Wow. This is quite interesting to me as well. Davidos has opportunity to snag a greater healing potion here. And, I mean, the early damage he's staring down can be significant, but I think the big turning point is the Alex into lots of burn that he inevitably will see in this matchup. So I quite like the idea of taking a greater healing potion in this spot and playing for post-Alex.
Yeah, play for like 3 healing potions and just, you can't kill me. But then he can't kill Wonder either, because Wonder's going to have a lot of ways of dealing with big minions.
True story.
It's going to go a long way, this one.
Second Servitude found, but no way to generate a minion at this point.
Right.
That is the magic card for Davidos right now.
Yeah, this is one of the issues when you play this Big Priest deck, is you've got to get the combination of making stuff, recalling stuff right in the right parts.
2 pint size, 2 Potion of Madness burned. The problem for Davidos is that 2 of those are already in his hand. Not that he lost those cards, but that they weren't thinned from his deck to increase that draw potential as much. A couple of them were.
Yeah.
But the damage is starting to pile on.
And when you play a 4/6, I mean, we talk about the guys removing the 1-drops. It's a 4/6 with a bonus ability. It's not being played for that ability. It's being played to exert this pressure. And Mage is the best class in the game at finishing this sort of game if he gets close enough. Fireballs, Firelands Portals, all those things just add up so quickly. And there goes the healing potion that he really wanted to save for later.
Oh, wow. Big draw for AKAWonder. Aka really wanted to save that second Firelands portal for the moment where Davidos is under big pressure. And so being able to hang on to this because he saw that potion, I'm really surprised if he uses this Medivh's Valet here. I'm very surprised by that. So he's trying to save the Alex maybe for the second stage of recovery from Davidos?
Alex is just so versatile. I think you see more games won by players who don't pigeonhole the Alex than any other card in Hearthstone when they're playing it in an unusual way. So you just keep it open. Who knows, you might need to heal yourself, even though it looks like you never will. Did you know that Priest has a hard time dealing with 4 tag minions? Has anyone ever mentioned that before?
They have. All right. I don't quite remember who, but you know, a situation like we just saw is one of the reasons that I think I would have favored saving the Medivh Valet. But this does open him up to the Frostlich Jaina at this point, which now suddenly Davidos has to worry every single time there's anything on board that AKAWonder can convert it. We see the first polymorph show up. A lot of Jaina mages I've seen are running 2 polymorphs.
Polymorph against Big Priest is such a good card.
And I think this is wise of Davidos to slam the Yashiraj here and just try to make the biggest turn possible.
Do you want to get your sheep back into play while I make an elemental? Go for it. So polymorph, the downside is meant to be that it leaves behind a minion. But against Big Priest, it's actually an upside because that minion is permanently a sheep in all the iterations, everywhere you find it.
Look at this. AKAWonder says, you keep your Yashiraj. I want to see those minions pull out of this deck.
Right. Maybe not.
Well, I mean, think about the Eternal Servitude, for instance. It's much more important for Davidos to actually be nailing the lifesteal than it is to be nailing that effect. And so suddenly this has turned into dire situation for Davidos where I think AKAWonder has just bought so much value with the small minions and with this Skulking Geist just clocking away every single turn that he's going to win this.
And when we talk about the Priest deck being very variable, this is it. I mean, he wasn't able to do anything for 5 or 6 turns other than watch 1-3s and 2-3s hit him in the face.
And one of his statues is in hand. So there's Barnes. And there's Lich King.
There's polymorph number 2.
Wow. And that means AKAWonder is going to take this one and a 2-1 lead now as he knocks down Big Priest.
Yeah, not a huge amount to say about that one, except for the use of the Geist as a minion. Like, I need some pressure, what does that? Oh, a 4-6 does that. Let's not mess around, let's just get on with it.
A big part of this, too, is that Davidos, neither of his Shadow Visions found generating effects with Shadow Essence.
Yeah.
He did not draw a Shadow Essence. He didn't draw Barnes. How much different is that game if he finds one single threat in that spot?
Yeah, so much different, because then he can either defend himself or he can attack depending exactly how Wonder develops, and suddenly you can deal with a 4-6, you don't take the damage, your greater healing survives till after Alex, and the whole game is totally different.
So now Davidos, he does have the information that Jaina, Meteor, Polymorph, and Skulking Geist are in AKAWonder's.
That gives you a very clear picture of your opponent's build. There's a lot of tech cards listed there, and you know exactly how it's lining up.
And when he's playing his own mage, that means he can craft his game plan to a much more exact scenario when it comes to fighting this matchup.
3 months ago, we saw this matchup all day, every day. Don't see it so much anymore.
It's a true story.
True story indeed. It's a good story.
I like that story.
Okay.
Pretty good opening hands as well. I would say that because the resources are fairly evenly matched here, with Davidos having Frostbolt for the Answer Mana Worm, having Medivh's Valet in combination with Ice Block, having Jaina early on, I think, is one of the big pressure points in this match.
Yeah.
And while I don't like to talk about it super often, a lot of times decks, when they're in mirror matches like this, and their game plan is to simply buy as much time as possible till they hit their power turns, grinding your opponent's resources out to nothing and then stabilizing the game is a major difference in winning and losing. And what that means is if both players can accomplish that, that a game plan where you win from the last card killing your opponent's final card and they die in fatigue first is a real thing that you have to consider.
Yeah, it sure is. We've seen players in very recent times blow games by like pinging their own Acolyte to draw a card in similar sort of matchups, you know, that sort of thing, because they misjudged how long the game was going to go.
That's right. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. And so what I want to call out there then is just how this game lines up. If you see it go even for a very long time, card draw could very well be a detriment to players as we move into the super late stages.
Well, we're going to get to see how Davidos sees that any moment now, because he's got that intellect and very little else in his hand.
And look at this. AKAWonder had drawn Medivh for his Simulacrum, but he's got Skulking Geist in the way. If he plays Skulking Geist, it'll blow up his own Simulacrum in this spot.
Okay.
So he has to find a different place to use that Simulacrum. Ideally, he would make a second Medivh.
Ideally. How does he go about that?
Well, he can't do it here. He'd have to get dirty ratted.
So that is definitely how it works, right?
Yes.
It works as a 1-mana because it came...
It's currently a 1-cost card.
Okay.
Or a 1-cost spell.
I misunderstood how that worked, but that's the thing that I do.
Yeah. I've accidentally blown up a lot of my own stuff.
We won't let you near any matches or
Wow,
anything.
look at this. What? That literally blew up my own card like 3 weeks ago.
Must have been changed.
I am so
must
mad.
have been changed.
I'm so mad. Is it different with Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Possibly.
I am angry right now. I want someone to convince me that I was dreaming that instead of actually experiencing that.
I think you must have been dreaming it. You've done a lot of traveling recently, haven't you? Maybe it was just a little bit of jet lag.
Hang on a second. Is Bittertide Hydra a good or a bad thing here?
I think it's a good thing, but it can turn into a bad thing very easily. I mean, you're saying you have to kill this minion. That's got to be a good thing. And the number of ways he could do a lot of damage to it, I don't think...
I think this is wise from AKAWonder.
Yeah.
I'm still hung up on the simulacrum. I swear I've blown up my own stuff this way. Like on adjusted cost cards.
I actually made the exact same call very recently for the exact same reasons. Maybe we had the same hallucination.
Whoa, that'd be weird. Shared delusion.
Nothing's weird at this point in.
Well, first Medivh is a big deal.
It is. And he's going to get first everything. Everything he's going with at the moment, he's half a step ahead because he has all of the stuff and he's had the tempo right from the start. So Aka's going to have to waste more resources defending, and eventually, at least in the medium term, Davidos is going to get into some sort of lead.
And that Jaina is about to be massive.
Yes, indeed. Temptation to present a board here. Depends exactly what he wants to get out of the Atiesh. You're not impressed? You're confused.
I think I would have slain the Jaina here. I mean, this is obviously very good still.
Yeah, he's just going for that tempo play again, just to suck AKAWonder's resources away, so he can't... AKAWonder can't Jaina here, so you can still Jaina first. He just eats too much damage if he does. So you're sucking the cards out of his hand. You're also forcing him to do things like coin with Atiesh in play. Yeah, I like this a lot. I think this works out really nicely. Force him to do all that stuff into the Atiesh, and now basically you get to Flame Strike and get a 7-mana minion.
Yeah, that's about as good as it gets. This was very well done from Davidos. That pressure point created a big investment from AKAWonder, and now that has been turned.
Yeah, and then the Jaina is going to come down onto at least a level board and probably a favourable one.
Oh my.
One Jaina all. I never looked at any point in this game where like AKAWonder was going to play the first one, but...
Holy smokes. I mean, now that both players have Jaina, you know what? Where does the game lead to from this stage now? I mean, this was the scenario I was talking about.
Oz.
What,
That's where we're going now.
like who gets the edge in this spot? And who's winning from here? I would say it's the player with an Atiesh charge.
The player with the Atiesh charge, the player with 6 cards instead of 4, and who also has stuff on board and is also going face. Just why not?
I want to see how many cards are left in deck. I think that is a factor here to consider as well.
Yeah. We know that Davidos has definitely played that intellect earlier on. I'm not so sure about AKAWonder. But Davidos has always had that little bit of tempo. He's also got this Alex Straza. I was saying about the utility of Alex Straza earlier. He's going to have a choice, probably going to use it just to do a whole chunk of damage at some point, but he can always heal. So he's in a much better position at this moment.
This is really interesting to me. Ah, that's what he's doing.
Yeah. He's the one behind on resources. He's the one who's got to spend even more effort trying to generate resources.
The Jaina math on how you set up minions the best way possible.
Right, you thought Defile was hard.
It's so difficult with Mage because there's so many different ways to flex the burn spells.
Yes.
Whether it's Frostbolt, whether it's the Volcanic Potions, whether it's Meteor Splash, the Combat, Fireball. So many
Meteor
ways.
Splash, I like that phrase.
There's so many ways to convert something into a water elemental.
Yeah.
And so the player who ends up making better use of the resources typically is the one who grabs an edge in that.
And the other thing is, even though this looks good, but even though there's a lot of ways of doing it, it's also very easy to do it in an inefficient way and suddenly realize much later on, oh, I wish I had this card still in my hand. So just making 3/6s for the sake of it can turn out to be a mistake if you're not careful. But Davidos has been careful all through this particular game, I feel. Choices.
Yeah, I like the Molten Reflection here. Vanek, we just got update, by the way. First player to go 8-0 in the tournament.
8-0. Not a player we know much about. It is his second DreamHack. That's all I know. He went 5-4 in his first one. He learned a lot.
Yeah, it's a big step up. He is secured for the top 16 at this stage.
1 down, 15 to go. The scramble is commencing.
Yeah, we're going to be getting updates all throughout round 8 and 9 about players.
Awesome.
Who start to get their records, so we'll keep you guys updated on that as well. These are the critical rounds of the tournament at this stage.
Yeah, and as like I was saying earlier, there's just the heap of players currently on 5-2. That's a lot of people you guys have heard of in that 5-2 bracket.
I swear I've seen this guys happen. I'm like driven mad by this.
This is great. Just watching Admiral like,
Haunted by the
slowly
Geist.
go insane. Wow.
I'm haunted by the Geist.
That's why it's called a Geist. Skulking into your dreams.
Freaking out!
Somebody help. I don't feel safe anymore.
Look at this turn from Davidos. He's found pressure amidst this.
Yeah, and he's still got more cards. He's still got better cards, I would argue, as well. And, of course, he has the important thing, which is those 2 minions. And AKAWonder didn't even think, just needs resources. It's all very well protecting them, but...
He has no option here, I think, in that first Arcane Intellect anyway, except to draw. And the second draw now, this is when things can start to get dicey for AKAWonder. He's going to be able to handle this pressure, and it may be fairly nominal at the end of the day, but the difference was he had to draw cards to do this.
And this is where Davidos has got to be quick thinking and realize that the game could change based on those plays, and he may need to suddenly... There's no need to switch into defensive mode yet, but maybe later on, with that in mind, there'll be a time where he switches back over again.
I would like to see Davidos not draw any more cards for the rest of the game if he can help.
Yeah. And a lot of this came from the Atiesh play where he didn't play Jaina.
That's right.
And he forced Wonder just to use his Atiesh with a coin and some other piddly things. It all just got flame striked.
Yep. He forced a lot of removal. And that is the...
A lot of small, cheap removal that ate up an Atiesh at the same time. But as we look at it now, Wonder is going to be able to deal with some bits of this at least over the next couple of turns.
What does AKAWonder want to simulate? I mean, guessing at this point he's got his sights set close to Alex.
Yeah, something big like Alex. There isn't much else left. Like, you don't want to simulate him a Mana Worm.
Does he have a weird tech card maybe that we're
It
not
is
considering?
AKAWonder, it's possible.
Well, not if he's doing that.
Sure.
Excuse me, you are on fire.
Both players almost entirely out of useful aggressive resources. It's going to be all about that fatigue and all about whether somebody can just generate enough water elementals to actually achieve something.
Yeah, I'm watching very closely to see if AKAWonder actually scrolls over cards here to see if I can get a card count on the decks.
Yeah, I haven't got the right-hand side of the screen. I can usually tell when it goes to 6 cards because the pack size shrinks at 6.
Yeah.
But we haven't got that corner of the screen on this one either.
And now down to 8.
That's an Alex. Now what?
You're looking at that Medusa lane going,
Go away.
should I have Simulacrum to this?
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's convenient.
It's going to force the Medusa as well, so.
But that being said, like, his hand is slightly better than Davidos' now.
I would agree with you. I would tend to think so. I mean, Davidos, he spent fireballs, he spent everything to eliminate board position. You know, something that you can actually do with Fireball in this matchup is you can convert it into a water elemental on your own Doomsayer. Doomsayer's not a fantastic card in this matchup.
And he pings his own minion because in three of those pings, he'll get another.
Well, He can't ping it a second time.
Right,
What he can't do with
exactly.
this is it prevents Davidos from using a volcanic potion and converting this into a water element.
It's like one of those games where you sort of pick up and whoever takes the last straw loses. Like you can take 2 straws or 3 straws.
Similarly, it prevents Breath of Syndragosa off of a Primordial Glyph or a Flame Geyser from a Primordial Glyph from converting it into a water elemental. That's a really heads-up play from AKAWonder.
Now, yeah, worked. That would have been very different. This is where we find out where the card count is without even having to see it because he didn't take the Arcane Intellect. So we know that's Davidos' plan.
Oh, yeah.
He's chosen not to draw more cards. He had the option there. We already thought that, but he must be 1 or 2 ahead.
This is where that Simulacrum could have made a big difference, I think, too. Is just having an 8/8 body that's extra. I think means a lot at this stage. I mean, the resources have been ground to nothing. And so AKAWonder's doing 2 things here. Number 1, he's figuring out what's the best time to play my own Alexstrasza. Number 2, what is the best time to Alexstrasza offensively if I can win with that game plan?
Yeah, and we've seen on the other side, Davidos has got Frostbolt into Doomsayer prepared as his only line of defense against that, and that's not going to fly right now because Meteor's a thing. I think there's still Fireballs to come at some point. If there are any. Maybe sometimes they play 1 Fireball.
I'm just watching AKAWonder right now. Remember, I told you it's rare that he shows emotion during the game. He's more laser focused, but this is the most important turn in this game so far.
And it's just ping face.
He finally got an opening, and he did not seize it.
So the other thing, Davidos is going to just get that pinged down in 6 turns' time. So AKAWonder has to do something sometime.
And the longer he waits, the more likely it is that Davidos finds an answer to this Alexstrasza. So I can't quite catch him. He's going so fast. He knows what he's looking for on that number.
Yeah.
And I can't quite catch him looking at it.
I can't see further than the end of the table anyway, so I've got no chance.
Nah, you are old.
I really am old, yeah. I remember when I was younger, I could see twice the length of this table. That was last year.
I'm old too.
You're not old. Come back to me in 10 years' time, and I'll still tell you he's not old.
Why? I'll catch up to you eventually.
Yeah, you keep trying.
That's how timing
works. You hang in there. Hang in there. You can do it. So is Wonder keeping this Alex just because he feels he needs to use it defensively?
I mean, that would be my guess.
But then how does he do 33?
These are great questions.
I don't know the answers, by the way. That's why I'm asking you.
I saw 3 cards in AKAWonder's deck, but I didn't catch what was in Davidos. So now he's going the offensive Alex. He's going to peek again. I know it.
How many times do you hover over the number of cards left when you're in this position? I just do it constantly.
I do it every turn.
Yeah.
Even when it's like literally irrelevant.
Yeah. Remember physical card games where I used to sit and ask my opponent every time, how many cards do you got in your hand? How many cards do you got in your
Spine
hand?
is a bad drop for Davidos.
It really is.
This creates a water elemental for AKAWonder.
Does have a fireball. That's very relevant.
Wow, that is actually a major turn to look at. Is that AKAWonder has now gotten to this spot? Is that 6? Did I read 6 left?
I'm just waiting for the thing to say, because I've seen 6, 5, 4, and 6 again, so I don't even know what I'm seeing. I'm just going to wait and see when it says.
Wow, and the water elemental is going to connect as well. And the Doomsayer means that AKAWonder can use Fireball to create another one, or he could Flame Strike. And no, he can't Flame Strike. Ignore that.
But he can start healing now.
That's the big one. The connection there is a massive swing.
But he's almost out of cards. But it doesn't matter, because fatiguing against 2 life steal water elementals is going to take a long time.
Davidos has to find a way to answer, and that's a way to answer.
And now AKAWonder is out of stuff. We don't know what his last card's going to be. I doubt it's a second fireball. We'll find out any second, and then we'll know the situation.
That meteor draw. Holy smokes, that was big.
That's the most useless 30th card in Hearthstone.
So now, how does AKAWonder get out of this?
He needs a good Fireland, I feel.
I'm thinking you portal and find a way to make a water elemental.
Yeah. Or you portal and you get Earth Elemental and gain 7 a turn.
It's quite good.
That'll work.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of elementals from 5 slot as well.
Not a lot, but enough, right? A juicy amount.
Tarlurker, that's an elemental, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got time in it. It is.
Hard to attack into that one.
Yeah, gain 11.
4/4 Lifesteal Worm.
4/4 Lifesteal Worm.
The Beast.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's exactly its
Not
name.
the card, the Beast. Just
Lifesteal Man Worm.
yeah, Lifesteal Worm Man.
Worm Man would be
Yeah.
better. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's going to go for it. So
like
an
the
elemental would be
base.
good.
I was right all along.
Validated Doomsayer is not bad.
Especially when your opponent can't deal with it.
And he plays the Arcanologist.
That's going to give
This
both
is...
of them a water elemental.
Oh, Polymorph gets drawn! Are you kidding?
This game's actually completely nuts. Closed deck lists, ladies and gentlemen.
And now that AKAWonder is going to be ticking into fatigue, think back to that turn where the aggression from Davidos forced AKAWonder to use those arcane intellects.
Yes.
That's going to be the difference.
Yeah, and that came from the turn a few turns before where he forced him to use up all his ATS charges.
That's right.
So that aggression on turns 1 through 10, let's say, has made the difference 20 turns later.
Now, it's not completely done yet. So AKAWonder gets to use the Meteor here. He gets to attack the opposing Water Elemental and then make his own Water Elemental. So Davidos needs to find a way to kill this Water Elemental or AKAWonder's threatening recovery here.
Yeah, this is like the world's worst Gul'dan. Just doing 3 every turn and healing you. Oh.
Oh my. Oh, no, the fatigue ticks for 2. That's it. That's right. Because that was the second hit of fatigue. Wow.
That was so close.
I just literally lost that idea in my head. Davidos, though,
He didn't. That's what matters. It's 2-2.
the aggressive play on his end. Now, a big thing to note there, though, is the Jaina in his hand gave him the confidence, I think, to make that aggressive play.
Yes.
Without that Jaina, I think he questions that just a little bit.
Yeah, you can't afford to have your opponent Jaina that board state, I don't think. So,
Not when
but
you
he
can't
was,
return
he was
it.
able to return it, so it was fine.
Yep.
That was a really interesting game of Hearthstone. I think both players set out their stall, but forced Arcane Intellect.
I can't tell if he's blushing or if it's just the lights.
He did play the second Arcane Intellect really quickly.
Oh, he had to.
I think he had to, but he could have spent a second. But he knew, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, Rogue time.
And let me tell you what, this matchup can get very ugly for Rogue very quickly.
You said it was a 3-2 lineup.
This is
Going to be a 3-2 lineup.
This is a big part of what Davidos' lineup is trying to accomplish. Obviously, the ideal situation, you beat your opponent 3-0, you don't worry about it.
Sure.
But the thing about it is he wants to have strong matchups as his counters so that he can return games and against common strategies he runs into, find himself at a Game 5 advantage. And that is what he's done here. His
And
goal,
last year was standing was about that for the longest time, right?
it was. It was very difficult to find decks that really were just like super strong counter matchups. The thing about it was that all the strong decks kind of naturally countered each other.
Yes.
And it was very difficult to beat those decks specifically without giving up too much room. I personally failed trying to do the hard counter matchup at the Hammerstein Ballroom in 2014. That was a miserable failure for me.
Did you try hard counter Druid by any chance?
No, I was the Druid guy.
Oh, you were the Druid guy.
I was trying to hard counter the aggressive decks.
Okay.
And then Ant killed me on turn 3. Ant, by the way, is going to the World Championships this year.
If you kill people on turn 3, you deserve to go on the World Championship.
Yes.
Just smash.
You smacked that table.
Yeah. Wow. I learned that from Show.
But Davidos here, his game plan is just to kill all of AKAWonder's minions. To not allow him to have a big enough turn that it's super detrimental to his game plan. And so every single card in his deck, as we saw from last game, is dedicated to some sort of resource generation or removal spell.
And the longer it goes in those matchups when you know who is the control and who is the aggro, and it's very clear cut here, obviously the control deck just wants to drag it out.
2 meteors found.
And they're so important, obviously, because Rogue ramps up really quick, and not ramps, but goes up very quickly into really big stuff.
It hits its stride very quick.
It's its stride. See, why don't I think of words like that?
I think of them after you say something that gives me the idea to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
team
feel
effort.
good now.
You should feel good. You're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you.
It's so beautiful. Okay, so we're going to have Meteors clearing things up, and now the bit that matters comes around where how brave do I want to be?
Well, is Kona Cold on deck here first, maybe?
Yeah.
It's a great Kona Cold.
Yeah.
The pink can set up the Meteor here as well. Tee it up.
As with all these control decks, it's very key to always look for a better way. A way that you're willing, you can afford to use your health total as a resource. You've got 15 spare health that you don't need.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can take a bit of a hit and not kill something for a turn or two.
It's finding that key turn to swing things.
Also assigning cards to cards. This Polymorph will probably have been assigned to this Cairn in his mind very early in this game.
Yeah. He's going to Portal first.
Yeah, so he's happy taking 7 one time.
Wow.
He's using his health total as a resource like we were just talking about.
That's a pretty darn good drop, but this 11 damage crashing in, it's not much of a joke. And AKAWonder, he's not going to take the bait on this. He goes, you know what? My Cairn's big enough. I'll save these bone mirrors for an important time.
And that's what you do to stop the other guy from getting too much efficiency out of his AoE. Just chill. Get your damage in there, make it scary enough they have to do something.
You know what's quite interesting is I was wondering why Davidos was so dedicated to playing that Spellbender. It shuts off Shadow Step.
Oh.
Is that right?
I'm going to go with yes, because you can execute a Spellbender.
Polymorph hits the Cairn. And Jaina was drawing this turn as well. And Davidos, he is just looking so good right now.
Yeah, and just that turn where he chose to fire lands and just take 7 damage rather than panicking and trying to kill everything. Just, yeah, you can't kill everything with all my cards. It doesn't quite work that way. Let's take 1 punch in the mouth, stabilize on 15. Jaina will get my health back for me. I'll be fine. Not out of the woods yet, quite.
Yeah, still got some work to do. A couple of bone mares can change anything.
Yeah, that hurt. Bone Mare, great card when you have minions on the board. It's going to be the end of the coin.
Oh.
Wow.
And Aka's
Leroy Coldblood Shadow Step looks good.
That's the thing. It looks good.
Wow.
I like this play.
Yeah, not biting.
Wow, that's really heads up.
Yeah, it would have been so easy to walk into that one.
Oh my gosh, that is a huge draw! That shuts off the push from AKAWonder. All he has left are the finishing cards. And Davidos has a Spellbender up. He disrupts this damage combo from AKAWonder.
Any way you like, because the Coldblood does something one way or the other. Is that lethal through it?
12, 13, 14, 15? Is that a block pop?
So you play the Leroy, you Coldblood, the Coldblood goes on the...
Oh, he doesn't have the mana to do all this because he doesn't have the dagger up.
He hasn't got the dagger up, so he's got to set it up and waste a turn if he goes that route. I'm saying route. What are you doing to me? If he goes that route.
I don't say if he goes that route, do I?
Americans always say route.
I say Route 66.
Okay. Oh, you're good, man.
Not
like
Route 66. Route is like you invading a castle, right?
Yeah. Route is a 3-0 win with Rogue.
Spellbender. Look at that. 4 health. Oh, wait. Davidos doesn't have a block down. All he had was the Spellbender down.
Right. So that would be lethal. That's, yeah. But he has 2 blocks in hand and a Jaina in hand. The Jaina gives the 5 armor, remember, even if it doesn't heal you straight away.
Aka's looking at this and
9.
Aka's looking at this and going, "Oh my gosh, I can win the game." But Davidos, it's got 2 ice blocks. It would have to be successive ice block pops and to beat Jaina. And now that Davidos has seen the Shadow Step, how much damage is left in AKAWonder's hand is the thing. How much damage can he draw that gets him out of this? And so because of that, he's going to take time to invest ice blocks, get board position.
Oh, does he just win? Does he even need the Jaina? He's got so much damage coming through.
That's the thing, is like he's threatening AKAWonder to just die as well.
Yeah, he's got 2 lots of 10 on board. That's 20. Even I know that one. So the block gets procced. This is if no trades happen. He hits you for 10. You play another block, hit it for 10 again.
We forgot about patches.
We did forget the patches. It was so late into the game, we just assumed patches had gone.
Look at the thought from AKAWonder here. Like, even at this weird stage of the game, he's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and check for Vaporize.
Yeah, and you've got to do that.
Like, and that's a natural secret that he's seeing. It's not like it's a random one. He's literally paying that much attention to these small details. But now,
so it's not
Davidos,
210s anymore.
Davidos knows that the Leroys are gone. He knows that is the end of burst damage from AKAWonder's stack. He is free to play Jaina, trade up this board, and recover the situation.
You called this a 3-2 lineup as opposed to a sweep lineup. Looks like you called it pretty well. And you can see how that
The hard part, of course, is the players who had to make that call before the tournament began.
Yeah, before they see all of their opponent's decks.
Oh, wait! The Swashbuckler! No way! No way! Look at AKAWonder! This is so pure! Oh, I love it!
He's teasing us. Do it!
Oh my
into
gosh!
ice block. Can hear the crowd. They are going insane out there too. Can he get an ice block from this and 2 decent cards?
Can he get a fireball?
Fireball will do it.
Fireball!
Oh my
AKAWonder
goodness!
is going to take the series 3 games to 2. Unbelievable!
We called the ending. We were talking about how he won. He didn't win. That was absolutely a ridiculous ending. Swashbuckler into Tome, into Fireball, 10 mana exactly. Bosh.
And you have to look back at that Jaina. Should it have been Ice Block? I don't think so.
I don't think